Call the Metropolis City Council to order Monday, February the 13th, 2017. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Here.
Canada.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
McManus. Short.
Here.
Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight thanking you for each and every blessing that you have given each and every one of us. Be with the council members, dear Heavenly Father, that have illness tonight. Guide and direct them. Be with our community, dear Heavenly Father, for the ones that have lost loved ones. Be with the sick, dear Heavenly Father, and be with the caregivers. Be with this council, that each and every decision that we make here tonight will be for the betterment of the community. Be with our armed service personnel, not only on foreign ground, here in the United States, guide and direct their lives and bring them safely home to their families. Be with our national leaders, dear Heavenly Father, that the decisions in these transitions, dear Heavenly Father, will be for the betterment of the United States. Ask it in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Need a motion to approve the minutes of the 1/13/17 meeting.
How much is most?
Second. Motion made and seconded. Call the roll.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus and Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
First item, citizen request. Hearing none, we'll move right on. First item on the agenda. Most of you, probably until you got your agenda, did not realize that Herman Fulgham is retiring. I think Herman's last day is like the 18th or 19th of this month. Herman came on the city government after the closure of Laidlaw Corporation. We actually hired Herman, didn't seem possible, but 10 years ago. And Herman has been a loyal, very, very fine employee. I think probably in the 10 years that Herman's been here, I doubt very seriously if Herman missed 5 days of using sick time or anything like that. He was one of the ones that, you know, we have a little incentive if you don't use your sick leave and stuff like that. You get a bonus day of an extra personal day and stuff like that. Herman usually almost always got those extra little benefit days and stuff like that. Herman will be missed. Herman actually is retiring out of the water filtration plant. And so if you see Herman out, and congratulate him on his retirement. He has been a good, loyal employee to us. We'll miss Herman. Next item on the agenda. Motion to accept final payment in the amount of $22,365 to Freeman Environmental Service for the FEMA demolition project. That is the 10% retainage to hold until the final inspection. Final inspection has been done by Doug and Chad. We do have a couple of little slight issues, but it will be simpler for us, you know, a bucket of dirt here or a bucket of dirt there for a little bit of erosion or something like that. So we do feel at this time we need a vote to pay that retainage.
So second.
Moved by Mr. McManus, second by Mr. Short. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus
Yes.
and Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item. Motion to proceed with sinkhole repair at the intersection of 2nd and Gerard Street. With, after further investigation and things of that nature, for the ones that were actually sitting on the council at that time, when we had the sewer separation, I don't remember what, it was probably I don't remember what year it was now, but, we actually did some sewer separation down Girard Street from Second on up and made a little swipe over across the highway and went down Catherine Street. Well, at the end of Second Street, where that was a tie-in, that was one phase. When they put that together, they left one void in the pipe that was going to be in the next part of that separation. Never did actually finish that project right there. It will be done. But anyway, I guess they inserted, according to Chad and Doug, they inserted a plywood closure on it. Well, through the years of the water and whatever, that plywood has deteriorated and it's let the fill. So while we've got Bill in town and he's going to do that on a Friday, they don't work on Friday. So Bill's gonna use a man and actually dig that up, put fillable material in that, and get rid of that. We'll just, if we do it right now, we'll have very little damage to the road and stuff like that. We'll just concrete over that patch. It didn't hurt the concrete patch we got there. So we do need a motion to proceed with that as quickly as we can. Where it doesn't. Okay. Motion by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, motion to accept purchase of 2 trucks that have cost us $28,900, which will be 1 2-ton truck and 1 1-ton truck, to be delivered probably within the, well, we'll have to go after them within the next week, get a cut check this week.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Short, second by Mr. Barfield. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, motion to adopt ordinance authorizing the sale, disposition of personal property of the city of Metropolis, which is a 1995 Ford F700 and a 2000 GMC C350. Those are trucks that through the years we bought used. We've refurbished all we can get out of them. We've got transmissions out of them. They're inoperable any longer. We've taken doors, fenders, and put in a storage area as we need, but we do need to get rid of the, I guess the best thing to do is be say body or carcass.
It's gonna be 2017-05.
I'll make that motion.
And we will just scrap those is what we'll do with them. Motion by Mr. McManus, second by Mr. Hall, and we will take them to holds. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, motion to accept appointment of Mike Mormon to the Police and Fire Commission.
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. McManus, and second by Mr. Barfield.
Yes, sir.
And in saying that, I did talk to Mike a couple of weeks ago, and we've had a vacancy on that for Ken and Mike, and the Police and Fire Commission is something that you know, it's above some of our committees. All of our committees and things like that are very, very important to the city of Metropolis because it's most of the time something that you get very little credit for. Sometimes a lot of those committees have to make some hard decisions and stuff like that. But the Police and Fire Commission is a very vital part of our police department and our fire department. And Mike, I believe, will bring he's gonna bring some expertise to the board that's actually going to help Ken and, Mike, so I'm happy to be able to bring that forward. And we do have a motion, we do have a second, call the roll.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item. Motion to accept hosting electronic recycling bid on Saturday, March the 4th, 2017 with Clear Earth Incorporated from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That is on a Saturday, March the 4th. It will be for city residents only. And you will have to show proof of residency. We will have another gentleman there that's actually going to be able to take what they call anything with a tail. The electronics will be from Clearwave. We will have, not Clearwave, but was it Clear Earth? Clearwave's not gonna be involved in that, Rick. Don't panic. And we will have another gentleman there that's going to take your old, if you want to have a refrigerator, a deep freeze, a toaster, a microwave, household goods, the electronics, he will be there to accept them with no charge also. So
Very good.
that will be a good thing.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. McGuire. And second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, this is just an update on something that's been going on. We've kicked this thing around for, we worked on this for many months on the loan that we actually got from the EPA of 6.4 million for this sewer separation through and you know, I guess a lot of things are put on paper and things like that because the integrity and quality of the people that we actually have in the city government. Tricia, I can't say enough about Tricia. Tricia is great at what she does. They always told me, you know, if you're smart enough to know that you're not very smart, but you can, you know, you surround your people with real good smart people, they'll make you look pretty good sometimes. But Tricia worked really hard on the negotiations and prying and the pulling and the bookwork and you know, bending over backwards everything we've ever done with the EPA to make sure that we were all in. We've always met every standard the EPA threw at us, and there's one name that was left off on there, and it was left off intentionally because our corporate counsel actually prepared this to put on there, but Rick had a lot to do. Tricia knows the numbers, and Rick knows the words. So between all three of us, we did get the EPA to relieve in a grant, and we saved $2 million. In other words, we borrowed 6.4, we're going to have to pay back 4.4. So that is a $2 million savings, and that is going to allow us to guarantee, well, I don't guess there's anything guaranteed because we don't have some control over some things. But we have no foreseeable increase of anything in the next 3 to 4 years, and I think it can maybe even be a little longer than that. We want to be fair, we want to be honest about it, but we're going to have some more separations and some projects probably going to be, we're probably going to have to borrow money to do that too. But right now, as of last week, I think the rate of interest now for the loans is 1.67. So when we do have to go out again, if we're fortunate enough to get part of that relieved, we're going to be able to do a lot more work for a lot less money and insure our citizens, and that, we're gonna be able to maintain the utility rates, and that's through a lot of work that the folks sitting around this table, through the alderman and due diligence and taking care of our money and stuff like that. So there's plenty of credit to go around for everybody that makes the decisions that goes forth in the city of Metropolis. So that's a job well done for everybody that's been involved in it. One thing I want to bring up under we will be having, I will be putting back on the agenda at the next city council meeting with the approval of the contract for the mowing. We have an opened-end contract with Ethan Summers. Ethan's mowed for us for about the last 5 years. And Ethan is a stand-up young man, easy to get along with. I believe he's one of the young men that you can actually get on. He just looks at you and kind of grins, but he hasn't had an increase in his contract in 5 years. And he actually came and talked to Chris last week. He come by the office and talked to me, and I would highly recommend that we've got an open-end contract where all we have to do is just, just let him go on for the same amount of money and stuff like that, and I highly suggest that we do that. And we will be putting that on the agenda for the next city council meeting to approve that, of just letting him go ahead and mow, and under the old guidance of it's the same price as it was for the last 5 years. Corporate council report, Mr. Abel, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We've had a couple of missions, I'll call it. One of them, about this time last year, we kicked off was that we wanted to be more aggressive on cleaning up our derelict properties and stuff like that. I'm pretty pleased to report to you that we have one of the most aggressive abatement officers I've ever seen. Mr. Nehoff is doing a fine job. He really is. And that's not to take anything away from anybody that's done it in the past. He just really is very into this project. He really, he likes it. In fact, he does so much of it, it's hard to keep up with. And that's why tonight I gave you an update on some of these things and where we're at. And I gave you 10 of them that we've got quite a bit of progress or work done on. I gave you another 5 of them that are sitting on my desk right now. Those 5
I didn't know if you read
are,
it or not. I got it in here.
those 5, looks like that. There you go.
Yeah, I've got it here, so I'm just looking at it.
Okay, those 5 are just, the only reason they're not further along is because we're having a hard time locating the owners, so we'll have to probably publish in the paper. And a couple of them actually have got the notices out there, but we haven't got the green card back. We send all these out certified mail. But to give you an idea, the old bank building, I know people have been concerned about the old bank building down there at 300 Ferry Street. We've had repeated conversations with the owner. He's a gentleman out of Carbondale. He did come back and reboard it up. He also made a contract with Mr. Childers. Mr. Childers has talked to the mayor. As soon as he can break loose, he will be down there tearing that one down and getting that removed. The 415 West 8th, that's one that we are in the process of foreclosing our lien. We had several abatement liens. That one will need to be demolished, but as soon as we get title, that's what we'll come back to you and have the mayor will get a price and bring it to you to get that demolished. 417 West 8th, this is one that looks like, kind of like a, might have been a duplex or an apartment or something at one time, but there's nothing left of it. They've taken the siding off, the doors off, the windows off, the floors are out. Much of the drywall's gone. It just needs to come down. I have sent a letter just back in March of last year, Cornerstone Concept Solutions out of Paducah, which I think is a not-for-profit that Pastor Benberry operates, they acquired that, but they just recently got their deed. So I sent him a letter explaining it needed to come down. Have not really heard back from him on that property. Now, I did hear from him on Mr. Pullen's property, the next one. Sent me an email last week. The church, and I assume he's referring to Mount Horeb, is going to acquire that from Mr. Pullen. He may be donating it, I'm not sure. But they asked if I'd prepare the documents. I told him I would, and we'll move that along. I did send him a few questions I need him to answer so I can get the documents done right. But we'll do the documents, and that'll move it along, no charge to them. And their plan, they've already talked to, Mr. Childers did the Clem Riley property for him, so they plan on using him again and getting that done.
Did they, participate in our cities?
Sort of, yeah, we
Sorta,
kind of, yeah, well, we helped them with the actual out-of-pocket cost for the, what is it, the landfill?
Yeah.
Yeah, landfill, and on both of these, I have sent him copies of the grant program, so that he could access the grant program.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir.
give him the $1,500 credit for the landfill.
And I sent that to the young man that owns the bank building down there and said, here, fill this out, get this back in. Calgal, that's a property, oh, I know, that's on Baines.
Yes.
That's next door to the house that we already own, we got from Wells Fargo. It's a small lot, it's a house that, had burned and we tore it down. That's one we probably, when we get it, and we should soon, the confirmation is set for, February 22nd. If the sale's confirmed, then the sheriff will issue a deed to that property. We should probably either look at platting it, or at least when we deed the two, we deed them together, and we also put a deed restriction so that you can't separate them and you can't, build two residences on it. So we don't want somebody just sticking something in there. Now, ideally, because the house we have is kind of small, this would be enough of, Chad, I'm talking about this, there's enough area there to put a garage there, which would make the house more valuable, make the property more
Or
valuable.
you expand the house?
Yeah, right.
Our
So,
garage.
or expand the house either way. So
You'd have room for expansion.
it would make more sense to do it that way. The number 6 one was one that we were able to reach an agreement with the owners, and Greg should go by tomorrow and make sure they fulfilled that agreement. They would have that property cleaned up by tomorrow. The next 2 or 3, the third one is number 9. I really don't know a lot about. Greg just brought that one in and dropped that off last week. The other 2 we've been working on for a while, and I think I've put in your packets on 907 Ferry Street, Mr. Mitchell's property. The house in the exterior doesn't look as bad as some of the others we got in town. I will admit that. Now, he typically piles tons of junk out there, and he did have a huge trash pile. And this was back in October-November timeframe, and he was wanting the power turned on and the water turned on, and we said, well, we need to inspect it first, because we'd had a number of complaints from tenants that it was in bad shape on the inside. So we had Everett Mounts went in to do the plumbing inspection, and Everett also, although he's a licensed plumber, he's done enough general construction. He came back and he had 4 pages of stuff for me that I had typed up then and sent to Mr. Mitchell. Among those things were just exposed wiring everywhere, toilets that were falling through the floors that were collapsing, sinks that were collapsing. I mean, just, it needed a huge, he said, you can't let somebody go into that situation right now. To back that up and to feel comfortable, he was concerned about the electrical. So I had Max Russell from Russell Electric, who's a certified electrician, go in and do an electric inspection. Max wrote the letter that I stuck in your package. It just says, and Max, it was one of the days, it was funny, Max gave me the letter one of the days he was up here to talk about his project with you all. He called me outside and he said, you can't let anybody in that. He said, do not turn the power on. That house is gonna burn down. He said, that's a fire trap. He said, somebody will get killed in that house unless they, and I said, well, give me a report, I need something on it. He said, well, I'll try to do an itemized one, but he said it was so bad. And so you saw, the brevity of the letter was, it's so bad, it's just gotta be rewired, okay? So I got those in end of November, gave those both, I'd given them each to Mr. Mitchell. I gave him Max's letter in person, and he said that he didn't have the resources to do that project. And he said, I just don't have the funds to do that. And I said, so what do you wanna do? He said, I said, I can't put power on, I can't let somebody live there now that we have these reports. I don't think we can do that. And he said, well, I can't afford to do it, so I'll just have to turn it over to you, and, he said, but there's a mess out there right now in the alley. I said, tell you what, we'll clean up the mess. The mayor, I'm sure, will get Bulldog or somebody. If not Bulldog, our guys will go by there, pick up the mess that's all around the backyard and in the alley. And we'll haul that off. I'll make the deed. We'll look up your property. I'll make the deed, and you can deed it the property. We'll tear it down, and we won't seek any kind of compensation from you. He said, fine. Well, we went ahead and had the stuff hauled off, did all that. Hadn't seen him for a while, and he came back in last week, and then he actually wanted help with the second one, which is this one at 1711, 1713, is what he came to sue about. Apparently, he got notices from Mr. Niehoff that those two trailers were uninhabitable, and then same day, later, Mr. Niehoff dropped it off with me, so yeah, I got it too. But he showed me pictures of the trailers. They are in pretty bad shape. So he said, what can we do about this? And I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, well, I can't afford to do much. He said, if you'll take them off, if the city would take them off of there, pull the mobile homes off, get rid of them, he said, I'll clean up the property and I'll keep it mowed until we can get it sold. I said, well, might be able to work with that. I said, I have to talk to council. I said, now, my advice would be that would be fine, except that we're gonna wanna make sure it gets sold, and two, that the city gets paid back towards what it cost us to tear those trailers down. Now, I did tell him, I said, again, I felt like, if it brought more money, obviously, than what it cost us, that would be his. We weren't gonna take title to it, we'd just help out by tearing them down. If it brought less than what we had, we wouldn't seek to recover anything from him. We just accept whatever it brought. We'd take that would apply to our bill, and then somebody else would own the property, I guess, and he seemed okay. But at the same time, I asked him about 907, and he was reluctant to do anything about 907 at the time. And he didn't want to, he felt like he made a promise to somebody on a political sign, and he didn't want to do anything about 907. And so I said, well, first off, I felt like I've got to have approval of the council on whatever we're going to do. And secondly, I felt like, particularly on this 1711, 1713, since we're working out a deal with him to help him get rid of these, I need to know what you want me to do. So, I know that he's not come back. But I did tell him, I said I try to have some answers by after tonight's council meeting. I would give you all that
I got a
chance.
question.
Yeah.
What's a political sign got to do with him signing that deed?
Well, he just said, his comment to me was he
Shouldn't
felt
have-
like.
shouldn't have-
Political sign's gone. If the city, what he done was, if the city took over, the sign's gotta go anyway. And he felt the obligation, since he said, go ahead and put one in there, he didn't want it to come out till after the
Yeah,
election.
but I don't know whose sign it was, I don't care.
Oh, it's mine.
The thing that I have a problem is what's that got to do with him holding up his end of the deal?
Yeah, he felt like he gave his word to somebody else on that, and that, he was
Yeah,
willing
but
to.
he told us first.
I understand, and he told me he would sign it as long as I'd write something on there that we wouldn't tear it down or take possession till after, at least after April 1st. He first said after the election, then he said after April 1st. So, I mean, that's where and I just said, well, I'll leave it with you guys. I can't,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
since I
gonna play.
found out about it, I got the sign out there.
Sign is gone.
The sign is gone.
The mayor
That's not
talked to
even
David,
an
he
Oh, I didn't know
"Don't let
whose
that
sign
be
it
an
was,
issue."
I don't care
And he
whose
said,
sign
don't
it
let
was.
it be an
The
issue.
problem I have is with him making a deal with us, and then coming to you and say, no, I'm not gonna do it because of this.
I understand, and that was my problem a little bit in trying to help him with the other one, is that, it's always in our best interest if property owners will cooperate, and we can come to some agreement and get something torn down, even if we do the work, as long as we have some written understanding that we'll get paid back out of the sale or something like that, that's still in our best interest. It's cheaper than going to court, it's cheaper than doing all the notices. And that's what he wanted to do on the trailers, but
Especially since,
kind of changed it, but he's supposed to come talk to me again Wednesday. Now, I told him I'd try to get an answer tonight, and he'd come talk to me Wednesday.
Well, I think
But
that,
if he hadn't changed his mind,
As I say, if David would
The issue,
The issue's
That's what I'm
gone.
saying,
The
it should be a
issue's
good
gone.
issue.
It should be.
You go
It
ahead
should.
and sign.
actually,
should
when,
sign.
actually,
And
when
it's
it,
ready.
you know, when it came up, the people sitting at this table, I've never had an issue of any kind that I didn't feel comfortable picking up the telephone and calling. You talk it out, you discuss your issues, your good things, your bad things, and everything in between. I did call Mr. McManus, and, you know, we had to talk about what Mr. Mitchell had said and what had been said and stuff like that, and I certainly didn't want, a reflection to be called up on Mr. McManus. You know, it's just not the way to do things. David went right in, took care of the problem. The problem's been the same, but I do think personally that Mr. Mitchell either needs to sign the dang paperwork like he's agreed to on many, many occasions, or Mr. Mitchell needs to get the paperwork and let him tear the dang thing down and pay it out of his pocket.
I don't have a problem with David or whoever signed it was, I don't have a
Doesn't
problem with that. What I have a problem with is him saying, yes, I'm gonna do this, and then, no, I'm not.
And this has gone on for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I've actually talked to somebody else on the property down by the 2 trailers, and now you're not gonna get $10,000 for the dang lots, but I think you can recoup the demolition cost.
Demolition's gonna run you 12 to 1,800 on each one.
Yeah, and I think you can get that, because really, there's 2 trailers down there, but there's only 1 lot. I mean, if the trailers were gone, even if someone bought the lot, you can't put but 1 dwelling back on there, but, there is an individual that, has shown interest, didn't say they'd buy it, but I think you can recoup, and I don't mind helping Mr. Mitchell in any way we can, you know, to help him with the problems and stuff like that, and if the trailers are gone, and, we can help him sell a lot, hey, I'm all for that, you know, that's great, it's a win-win situation for everybody.
And again, I just need direction, cause he's gonna come and I know he's gonna wanna talk about this. If we're, I think we're still willing to do on both of them what we promised to do, but he's gotta sign the deed on the, 907, I think.
Yes.
And I think, and he's got to, and then I'll make a little simple agreement that how we'll handle, 1711, 713, it basically says, we'll take them off, essentially what we'll do is we'll put a lien there, we won't take the property from him. He can sell the property, we'll agree that we'll take any reasonable price that's offered for the property, and on both of those, if, you know, we're not gonna come after him personally, we're not gonna try to get in his pocket for these costs, okay, as long as we get the property taken care of. And I think that's pretty fair. We could, if it exceeded the value of the property, we could go after the property owner for those things. I've explained that to him in the past. But Snydergo, I think sometimes he thinks we're picking on just him, but as you can see, there's a pretty long list of folks that, now he's just one of many that are got properties, and like I said, they keep turning them into us.
I'm afraid if we don't take no action, that we've opened ourselves up to partial liability ourselves by inspecting the properties.
Right, and then letting something happen, or somebody, whatever,
Yeah, because some
and
of
you
these,
let them go back in.
well, and some of these we might not put utilities on, but people start, you'd be amazed, we get squatters that move into some of these and get
That's
vacant
what
for
I'm
any length
worried
of time,
about.
yeah.
And anybody get hurt, we'll be partially liable.
Right, I
because
agree.
We was aware of the
And we kinda
situation.
sat there and did nothing, yeah.
Well, and usually that will cause us as a, council and administrator and things of that nature, you know.
I make a motion that we allow the, mayor and city attorney to negotiate a fair and equitable settlement. Whatever it takes, you know.
I think we should have a time limit on it though, you've negotiated quite a long time.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying, you
No, I-
know. We'll give them the same 30 days that we gave this
Mr. Pullen,
bullet.
okay, alright.
But, you know, just try to negotiate, and whatever it is, whatever liability we have to incur, just to get them out of their liability issues,
Alright,
get them on, you know, and that can only be construed as being fair to them.
I believe so.
I think he'll come through with his green now.
I don't know, we'll see, he's supposed to come in Wednesday, we'll see if he comes in, I don't know. I think if we're gonna continue, if he understands we're gonna still try to help him, maybe he will, maybe he will.
And I think we should, if we can, we should.
If not, if he doesn't come in, and, yeah, we'll try, I'll send Greg out to try to get him, I don't have his, he tells me he doesn't have a cell phone, he used to have a cell phone, I call him one, but he tells me he doesn't have a cell phone, so I'll usually just have to send somebody to find him. If he doesn't, I'll try to get him, if he doesn't, then we'll know he's probably not gonna do anything, we'll just have to deal with it accordingly. You know,
You say you need a second?
John just did.
We do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
the next one I have, like I said, I don't know much about it, I just barely had a chance to glance at the pictures, Greg brought those in after we met, I think that was Friday, he brought those in, so I haven't looked at that, he gave another abatement notice. What I saw wasn't as bad as some of the others, and so it may be that he can fix that a little bit. The last one there, that Mr. Thomas, these are those two trailers that are down there by the T-ball fields, that we've been trying to get a hold of that property, and, this gentleman came in, cause Greg, we finally got a hold of him through an abatement notice, he come in, and, we met with him, well, I met with him once, talked to him once, he's got and then I went over to see Richard, because he's hired Richard Kruger, his is a title situation, he doesn't actually have title to those properties. He's, the guy, he was buying them on a contract, and the gentleman died that was selling them to him. Well, he needs to make, he still owes a little money too, yeah, see, he still owes a little money, so he's gotta find who to pay the money to. He knows where the widow is, he doesn't know where the children are. And, they think they're in Florida, but then supposedly, one of the seller's children is also deceased, and we don't know what heirs he may have, so, they're gonna have to publish some notices and try to get title first, so we can do something on that. It may be something where we can cut a deal with him, kinda like with Mr. Mitchell, and we'll take these off of here, if you'll let us go ahead and take them off, because they are truly uninhabitable, we've looked at those and they're in bad shape. But it's gonna be a while before, and there's no sense, we're gonna have to get a clean title one way or the other on this one, so. that's
That
what we're-
first trailer there, that, right there underneath that big tree, you don't notice it from the street or anything like that, but there's a large limb that went through that roof. So the roof on that one's open. I mean, they didn't do anything to it, cause there's not, it doesn't matter, I don't guess, cause.
So the floor's probably,
The other two I was
I'd
asking
say
for some
so.
direction on was the one that was owned by Cornerstone, and then this one with Pullen. I think the Pullen one's gonna resolve itself. I do, because I think I'll get the deeds prepared. Hopefully we'll hear back from Pastor Ben Bear. I sent him an email. Hopefully he'll also answer me on the one that Cornerstone has up on 8th Street. He still had a little time left on the notice I sent him anyway, on the one on 8th Street, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. But, if we want, I mean, consistent with what we're doing, if you want me to continue to work with these folks and see if we can't get those two, taken down. Thus far, the church has been willing to do those things on their own, we just had to get it to them and give them a grant to help.
When they left church yesterday, a group of people from the church went over and they were walking around Mr. Pullen's property while I was walking the dogs. So they are actually looking at it.
Okay.
They were all around it.
That'll be an asset to them.
Yes.
It would be.
put it over the same time frame.
It's the
Okay,
one
that's what we'll do,
next
we'll try to
door
work with it at
going
the same
towards
time.
Sacred,
I'll get back with
going south.
like I say, I sent him an email back, but he hadn't replied yet, so he may be looking to get some information. The other thing I was gonna talk about, and we talked a little about this last week in Mr. McManus's committee, and we're gonna do hit two or three things tonight that I think, it's easy to get, I guess, in a down mood or in a funk, you might say, when you look at maybe world events and nationwide events and even statewide events at times. But, I think here in the city, we got a lot to be really, really excited about. And, I know even though, there's some that would criticize, well, we're not seeing enough going on. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes that we don't see, okay? And the council hears about it, but we don't always get to talk about it. And, I mention this because in the last 2 to 3 weeks at least, well, actually the last couple months, but particularly the last 2 to 3 weeks, the interest in putting something in Metropolis, commercial activity, has really gone through the roof. In 2 weeks ago, I talked to at least 6 established business people that wanted to do projects in the city, and actually have them in some stage of development. We're gonna act on, and of that 6, really only one of those we're acting on tonight, but we've talked to some of the others. I say one because the Souders one is one that we talked to that week. Actually, Max Russell was already all but lined up. But we had 6, and those 6 will account for likely 10 projects this next year. Last week, there was a closing on Farley's. I don't know if anybody knew that, but Farley's actually sold in the property close to a local business person, Tom Reed. And we've been working with him on his plans, and will continue to do so. We're gonna approve a project, I think, tonight on behalf of Mike Souders. We're gonna approve a project on behalf of Max Russell. We're going to, among some of the other things we've seen, we've had, you all helped us create that Uptown Improvement Grant last year. We've had 6 or so applications. We've had at least 4 or 5 projects come out of that so far. At least one of which is actually saving one of those buildings uptown. The one down at Sanibel's Treasures, that building, Paul Knight will tell you, if you ask him, his building was literally gonna collapse. His floor joists were gone. And he's been able to put his floors back in, put walls in, and that's gonna make that business viable again. We have at least 3 or 4 more applications outstanding. People just trying to figure out what they wanna do. We've got people now, we're in a situation now where we've got 2 and 3 people at a time looking at those buildings that we had a couple years we had the campaign to fill the storefronts. Well, now we're seeing where we get 2 and 3 people at a time looking at those. We got 2 people kind of in competition for one right now. We've had another one that everybody said, well, that guy won't sell. He just needs that space. He won't sell. No, he's more ready to sell now at a reasonable price on one of the others uptown. So it's really, really kind of exciting. I don't think it's hard to express because I haven't seen this kind of activity, this kind of interest in a long, long time. Certainly not since the recession started. But it seems to be that we're building momentum, that we've decided that we're gonna have to take care of ourselves here. We can't wait for the state to straighten out its mess or the federal government to straighten out its mess, that Metropolis will just keep moving ahead and plugging ahead on its own. And in addition to that, there's been 3 more, there's at least 3 more projects I know of. I spoke with the Misty Meadows folks today. They are excited. Tonight we're finalizing their assignment of the redevelopment. They're trying to figure out how all this works. I've been in touch with their attorney every day for the last about 2 weeks, and they're trying to get their next project going. We also got written confirmation from the Smart Bus people. They unfortunately are a little dependent on the state, but everything is in place with them. Their federal money's in place. Everything's in place. They're waiting on, hoping that some of these, this bipartisan approach to state government's going to pass, because their state funding is what they're waiting on right now. But the minute it comes through, everything is, all the steps are there. They are ready to build, and they really think, based on their grant administrators' comments, that'll happen in 2017. We'll see that this year. They are committed to doing that this year, still. So they said, you know, you may have to extend our start date a little, but we are still committed to having it done this year. So, probably too early to say we're in a renaissance period, but it's certainly not too early to say that we're building a lot of momentum and that people really are starting to get excited about doing stuff here. Just, I tell you, that's good news. I mean, and you guys, you get to hear enough bad, you get to hear enough criticism, you ought to hear some good stuff, and I want you to know there's good stuff that's coming down the pipe.
Rick, a lot of that's got to do with the progressive attitude and the of the city council. You know, that we understand with the plight, you know, of the state right now. I don't know what you would have to give away. State or county or city government would have to do to get something that housed 25 to 50 jobs would probably be unheard of in the atmosphere of what business is right now. But if you get 5, 6, 7, 8 small businesses that house, you know, 3 and 5 employees, you're going to make that 50 up, and that's kind of where we're at right now. But and a lot of it, the business people are very appreciative of the strong attitude of the city council and you know, to help where we can and stuff like that. So we're moving in the right direction. It just takes time. You have anything else, Mr. Rabel?
No, I don't think so. Sorry for taking so long, but yeah, that's it.
I think Miss Christie would like just a few moments of your time, please. And that is Mr. Christie Stevenson, the city treasurer.
Thank you.
We call her more commonly the money lady.
Well, I will try to continue the good vibes, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. We'll try. I just wanted to take some time tonight and give you guys an update as to what's going on in Springfield with some of the budget discussions. As you know, the short-term interim budget that we had expired the end of December, and the governor is set to give his budget address on Wednesday. And so you actually can watch that online if you want to. If you go to ilga.gov, they'll have a live streaming of the governor's budget address. I think it's at 12 o'clock. And there has been a lot of discussion and work in Senate leadership. A bipartisan group has been working the last few weeks, putting together something that they call the Grand Bargain. It's a package of 13 pieces of legislation, and all the legislation must pass for any of the bills to go into effect. And so, I wanted to give you a synopsis of what those bills are, because some of them could affect us here at the city level. Some of the legislation would implement a business opportunity tax. It would raise a corporate income tax rate, proposal to raise the personal income tax rate, establish certain new taxes on storage services, amusements, repair and maintenance services, establish a new tax on cable television. There is a bill in the package that would raise the minimum wage and would do so over the next 4 years. There's a bill, and this is particularly interested to us, that would change the gaming structure in the state of Illinois. And so it would amend the Riverboat Gaming Act, and it would just be called simply the Gaming Act in Illinois, and it would expand the number of licenses in Illinois. And the agreement that they're trying to reach with it would provide a gambling license for somewhere in the city of Chicago, which you guys know, city of Chicago has been trying to get a gaming license since the existence of gaming in Illinois. It would allow for some gaming at racetracks, which so far it's not allowed. And there's been some discussion that one of the licenses would potentially end up in Williamson County. So that would be, and some of the discussion is that it's slots only, not tables. So obviously that's something that we're going to keep an eye on as that progresses. and some of the bills, limit term limits on legislative leaders. And then one that we're particularly interested in would, create a property tax freeze for 2017 and 2018. Now, you might say that doesn't affect us because we're already under PTEL, but the legislation reads so that it would affect all taxing bodies in the state of Illinois. So regardless of if you're home rule, non-home rule, or already under the PTEL limitations, you would have a zero tax levy for 2017 and 2018. So whatever our tax levy rate was in 2016, we would have to continue that same amount for 2017 and 2018. So obviously, we're keeping an eye on this. We've been talking to Tricia about it and kind of doing some projections as to funding the different things that, we're able to use with that property tax money that comes to the city of Metropolis. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it. It's nothing that we want to be surprised about. It's something that we can plan for if it does occur. And, this is still a long process. We're February, and, the session isn't supposed to end until the end of May. So, they've already voted on 3 of the bills. There were some of the non-controversial ones, but I imagine that, we're still gonna be talking about these same bills come the middle of May. But, I'll come back with some updates, but I just wanted to let you know kind of where things stood from the budget standpoint. There's been no discussion that I've heard of that would freeze the local government distributed funds, which are those portion of the sales tax, replacement tax, personal property tax that we get here. But we'll keep an eye on that as well, because if you recall a couple years ago, those were held up for about 4 months. The first year that we didn't have budget. So, but that's why we have reserves, and we were able to get through that time, even when those payments were delayed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Christie. Committee reports, Water, Light, and Street, Mr. Barfield, sir.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The Water Line Street Committee did, have a meeting on February 8th, and we have these 4 items I would like to bring before the council, and I'll make a motion on the following. I'll make the motion to accept the wastewater operations certification, training and testing for Matt Holt for Environmental Resources Training Center at SIUE class to be held from May 22nd through the 26th, 2017, with travel time from May 21st through the 26th, 2017. Total cost for travel, lodging, meals, and class not to exceed $1,900.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Excuse me, Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to accept the Marbury Drive sanitary sewer replacement proposal in the amount of $34,000 from ACIX.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept entering into an intergovernmental agreement with Massac County for assistance with the Massac County Courthouse repair.
Motion made by Mr. Barfield, second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Excuse me. Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept proceeding with bidding for structure 064-3050 on Old Marion Road, repairs for design and bid work to reform by Brown and Roberts Incorporated.
Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, that completes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Barfield.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, Industrial Committee. Mr. McManus, sir.
We also met on February the 8th, and we had 3 items come up, and I make a motion, we pass ordinance 2017-06, consenting to assignment of redevelopment agreement and addendum to redevelop agreement.
Got all that. We
That's
got
a
all that.
mouthful.
There's a lot of agreements.
I'll say that, Dan.
Thank you.
Seconded by Mr. Canada.
Call 06.
I'm ready.
Barfield.
Yes.
Was that
Oh,
06?
06. Canada,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
McManus, and Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we pass ordinance 2017-07, approving the private development agreement of related documents and authorizing conveyance of property, which is Max Russell out in the industrial park.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. McManus, second by Mr. Barfield. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
McManus,
Yes,
and Short.
I need to
Thank
vote
you
on
so
that one
much,
also.
and Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you.
good job.
Well, what happens is, what happens is we wanted it to start immediately rather than wait 10 days or anything, cause that's what we're doing with
So
salaries.
we
So you gotta have a 2/3 vote is what it has, and you'd have had it, but 2/3 is vote authority, so anytime the word says that, then the mayor votes, that's what it is. And it dawned on me,
It
so
doesn't
I
happen
changed
very
it.
often.
Well, that's why.
I changed the thing, that's what I stapled when I got in there, I realized, oh, heck, I left that off of this one. So
Mr.
I-
Well, we got it in there.
Most of the time, it's only on a controversial issue.
Alright, I'd like to pass an ordinance 2017-08, approving a memorandum of understanding private development agreement with Mr. Sowers on the project down here on Old School.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. McManus, second by Mr. Hall.
Call roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
And the Mayor.
Yes,
That's all we have.
thank you, Mr.
That's like 4
McManus.
times in 6 years.
That's right. Next item, ordinance committee, Mr. Short, sir.
Yes, sir. We also met on February 8th. Out of it, we have two first readings. The first reading is an ordinance amending the Public Works Chapter 53 on water connections. The second is a first reading on an ordinance regulating the issuance of right-of-ways permits. There's no action on either one of them, just first reading.
Next item, Park and Recreation Committee, well, Mr. Taylor is absent. Who that committee, who did that?
I did.
Okay, Mr. Hall.
Parks and Recreation Committee met on February 8th, 2017. And, I'd like to make a motion to accept the purchase of 24 tons of field dry for the sports park, baseball, softball fields from McKeel Equipment at the cost of $6,470.
We do have a motion by Mr. Hall, we do have a second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
McManus, and Short.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
it does take a motion that the council to extend, okay. And we will put that, if nothing arises that we don't have to have, I can't imagine that, but, if we don't have to have any committee meetings, which we may not, we may be kinda caught up right now, we certainly will if we need them. And we will add, to go through the committee, for the mowing contract, and for the extension, not a contract, the extension. At the next, if not, we'll just put it on the next agenda for the council.
And just put it on Mayor's report, yeah.
Is that, if that's all right, we'll just do that, not worry about it. We may have to have a water, light and street, there's always seemed like there's more action there and something always comes up and stuff like that, but if not, it will be on there, at the next council meeting, one way or the other, so. Next item, department heads. Chief Massey, sir?
Just two quick things. One, I'd like to reiterate what you said about Greg Niehoff. I think he's been doing an excellent job and he's been helping us out, for traffic control and funeral details and stuff when we've been busy and stuff. So he's been a good fit and I'm glad he's there. Second of all, I submitted the police department's annual report. If you have any questions, I think our guys did a great job, especially in the area of community relations this year and, reaching out to the community and a bunch of charitable projects and stuff, and I think they did a good job, and I'd just like to give them a public acknowledgement that I'm proud of.
Stoney's next in line back there, and I will say, you know, Stoney's is most of the time one of those, all the public works people's like that. You know, you never know they're out there and until you have a lightning strike or, your darn commode don't flush or you can't take your shower or whatever, then you really realize what they do and what they're about and stuff like that. And last week, through all those storms and everything, I doubt there was a day went by that something didn't get struck by lightning. And those guys did a great job with that. Stoney, do you have anything to bring up?
No,
Chad,
nothing,
Frank?
nothing at this time, Mayor.
Chris, you have anything else? Tricia? We are, glad to see, Boyd has really had a time. Tricia has been, working some from her, she don't have exactly what you call an office at home, but she does have a great big table, in the dining room, and the junk was piled this high, and I'd say probably within them few days that she was actually there trying to keep, Boyd calmed down and stuff like that. She probably got more work done than she does in a full week here because she didn't have, interruptions and stuff like that, but we're glad that Boyd's better, and it puts Tricia in just a little better frame of mind also. So I don't know of any police and fire. You guys got anything? All right, we will need you to set up a meeting. Tricia, Jan will have to
How
swear
soon they forget.
Mr. Mike in. We will do that one day this week, and get him sworn in, and I think you all have already met with him once and stuff like that, and he's looking forward to that. Old business. New business. Miscellaneous reports. Financial reports, payroll of salaries, payroll and contract bills.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McManus. Second by Mr. Barfield. Call a roll.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Payment of miscellaneous bills.
Second.
Call a roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have no need for an executive session. Reminders to, February the 14th, we have a Renew Metropolis, 4 p.m. City Hall. Thursday, February the 16th, Planning Commission, 1:30 City Hall. Monday, February the 20th, is a close to observe President's Day. As I said again, it's been a very, very busy 2 weeks. If we don't have anything else for the good of the cause, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Hall,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Short. And call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.